Hello there. Oh, I'm back. Whoa, earthquake. Almost shook everything. Had a little earthquake here. I'm that excited to read from chapter 10 onwards. We're up to chapter 10 now. If you're not up to chapter 10, if you haven't watched any of the other ones before this, catch up to number 10. There's so much of the rest of the story before this to read. So much cool stuff has happened. So find out, and then we'll find out what happened. For those of us who are up to this part, we'll find out what happens from chapter 10 onwards until, I think, the end of the story. We have a few chapters to go. We'll read right through until the end. Here we go. Chapter 10. The 6 other princesses didn't notice that Mulan and Aurora had left the ballroom. They were too busy introducing themselves to the dragon. The dragon looked happy. Then Cinderella had an announcement to make. "Time to make s'mores," she said. Oh, yummy. S'mores are delicious. Jasmine and Rapunzel brought over the marshmallows, graham crackers and chocolate. Snow White showed the dragon and Ariel how to place the marshmallow on the roasting stick. Neither one of them had ever made s'mores before. Everyone had their stick ready, but there was one big problem. "There's no fire," said Belle. That's no good. "Dragon," said Ariel, "will you light the fireplace?" The dragon smiled, happy to help. The princesses all scooted back as the dragon leaned forward. She sucked in a big breath and blew. Fire shot out of her mouth. But it was too much. It burnt the marshmallows to a crisp, and it singed the edges of the blankets nearby. "Uh-oh," said Ariel. "Maybe s'mores weren't such a good idea after all." Chapter 11. Later, the dragon was happily roasting her s'mores in the fireplace. Didn't seem to be bothered by the marshmallow mishap. And why would she have been? Dragons aren't afraid of fire. The princesses, however, had gathered in the corner to talk. "Do you think this was a good idea?" asked Snow White, looking worried. "Maybe dragons aren't supposed to be inside," said Rapunzel. "Don't be silly," said Cinderella with a big smile. "It was just some burnt marshmallows. Everything's going to be great. This is going to be the best slumber party ever." Said Jasmine. She leaned back against the table and one of the plates slid off and made a loud crash. It echoed all over the ballroom. Now, dragons might not be afraid of fire, but they certainly do get startled easily. The dragon roared in surprise and leapt into the air. She flew all over the ballroom, knocking into everything. Crash! Tables were knocked over, decorations were ripped down, and even the beautiful chandelier Cinderella had built came crashing to the ground. The princesses screamed. "This party suddenly became very unfun," said Ariel. Meanwhile, in the castle kitchen, Aurora and Milan were hard at work building something special. They had found an old crate and were attaching wheels to the bottom. "Do you think this plan of yours will work?" asked Aurora. Aurora asked Milan. Milan nodded. "I hope so." That's when they heard the rest of the princesses scream. They looked at each other, both knowing it wasn't a good sign. They ran out of the kitchen, leaving their project half finished. Chapter 12. The princesses rushed out of the ballroom into the hallway, closing the door behind them. They could still hear the dragon inside, flying around, crashing into things. Just then Rapunzel noticed a piece of paper sticking out from under the fancy rug. The piece of paper the mysterious messenger left. She picked it up. "It's from the mysterious messenger," Rapunzel announced. They gathered around to look. "Beware," Rapunzel read aloud, "the dragon is not a pet." "That would have been nice to know earlier," Ariel cried. The kitchen doors at the other end of the hallway flew open, and Mulan and Aurora ran out. "Are you okay?" Mulan asked. "We heard screaming." Cinderella sighed. "Yes, but the dragon is ruining the new ballroom. I think she's just scared," Belle said. "We have to find a way to get her out of the castle," said Jasmine, showing Mulan and Aurora the note from the mysterious messenger. Mulan and Aurora looked at each other. "Actually, we're already working on that," Aurora said. "Come help us." The princesses followed Mulan and Aurora back to the kitchen. Wonder what their plan is. I wonder what their idea is. Hopefully they can help. With the help of all the princesses, the project was quickly completed. "I call it the cupcake cart," said Aurora. The princesses had built a beautiful wheeled cart. On it, they had placed 20 perfectly frosted cupcakes. So I guess the dragon does like cupcakes. "Who's going to wheel it into the ballroom?" asked Ariel, looking scared. Cinderella raised her hand. "I'll do it. This slumber party was my idea after all. I should be the one to fix it." "Let's just hope this works," exclaimed Ariel. Cinderella took a deep breath and pushed the cupcake cart down the long hallway toward the ballroom. She could still hear the dragon crashing into things behind the door. Cinderella slowly opened the door, then she pushed the cart through the ballroom, avoiding the flailing dragon, and opened the large doors to the garden. She then shoved the cart outside. Good skills, Cinderella. The dragon stopped and sniffed the air. She could smell the delicious cupcakes, and she followed the cupcake cart right into the garden. Cinderella quickly shut the garden door behind the dragon. The princesses all ran into the ballroom. "Phew," said Snow White. "That was close," said Rapunzel. "I'm glad it worked," said Cinderella. But Ariel was looking out of the window at the dragon with a frown. "But won't she be sad?" "I hope we didn't hurt her feelings by kicking her out," said Belle. "But she's a dragon," said Aurora. "She doesn't belong inside a castle." Ariel suddenly had another thought. She turned to the other princesses. "Maybe she just doesn't belong in our castle," she said to the others. Look at the dragon eating the cupcakes there. Having a great time. While Belle, Rapunzel, Aurora, and Jasmine stayed behind to keep an eye on the dragon, Mulan, Snow White, Ariel, and Cinderella set off into the woods. Then, while the dragon was still eating the last of the delicious cupcakes, the 4 princesses snuck into her lair and quickly got to work. Wonder what they're going to do. Snow White built a small wall outside for the dragon to sit on. Ariel built a fountain for the dragon to splash in. Cinderella built a dessert tray for the dragon to eat from. And Mulan built a majestic pagoda for the dragon to lounge in. When they were done, the dragon's lair had been transformed completely. Chapter 15. I think this could be the last chapter, or we might have one more. 15 and 16, and then that's it. Wow. Even though the dragon had just eaten 20 delicious cupcakes, she still felt bad about what had happened. She knew the princesses were disappointed that she had burnt their marshmallows and knocked down all of their decorations. But she couldn't help it. She was a dragon. And she slowly walked back to her lair, head hung low. She wondered if the princess would ever invite her back to the castle again. She doubted it. And that made her feel worse. By the time the dragon reached the part of the forest where she lived, she had already begun to cry. "Oh no, it's a bit sad." "Shh," said Cinderella. "She's coming." The 4 princesses were hiding behind a rock near the dragon's cave. The dragon looked sad, but as soon as she saw the doorway of her cave, which was now decorated with twinkly fairy lights and strands of colourful flowers, she stopped. Her giant dragon tail began to swish excitedly. The princesses giggled. Super happy about that. The dragon ran into her new castle, and a moment later the princesses heard a squeal of delight. Well, a dragon's version of a squeal. "She loves it," Mulan said. "It worked," Cinderella cried. "I think we can all agree now that the dragon is not a pet," Snow White added. "Yes," they all shouted at once. But when they got back to the castle, Ariel was still frowning. "What's wrong?" asked Belle. "Still feel bad that we kicked her out of our party," replied Ariel. "I have an idea," Mulan said for the 3rd time that day. "Let's throw a surprise party in the forest for the dragon." "Yes," her friends shouted. Then suddenly there was a loud knock at the door. Thump, thump, thump. Jasmine opened the door to find the mysterious messenger standing there. "Never surprise a dragon," the mysterious messenger said, winking. Then she turned to leave. The princesses all looked at each other. "Okay, maybe not," said Mulan, and everyone laughed. Yeah, you don't want to surprise a dragon, it seems. Well, what a wonderful story. Thanks so much for reading it all with me. If you got all the way through to the end of the story, that was a fun one. Dragons are really cool. A Dragon in the Castle, a Disney princess story. For all you Disney princes and princesses out there, thanks so much. I'm Josh, this is Storytime. If you like this channel, click the bell below and subscribe. I'll be back with another story very soon. Bye for now, not forever.